Hello, and welcome to First Second Sketch School. My name is Alex Graudins, and I am a cartoonist, previously known for drawing the brain for science comics, but now we're introducing you to history comics with the Great Chicago Fire. Written by Kate Hannigan, the book is about fictional siblings Franny and J.P. Fitzgerald as they get separated from their parents during the Great Chicago Fire of 1871. And through their journey, we get to see the chaos that unfolded around them and also the new changes that came about after the fire and why certain things are the way they are now. So as they get home and find their way back to their parents and their aunt and their uncle, they also come across little newborn puppy Lucky. So we're gonna have a fun day drawing these main three. I drew the book digitally on my Wacom Cintiq in Adobe Photoshop CS5, so I figured we'll repeat that, show you how I did it that way, but you can follow along at home with pencil, paper. I also use an iPad and Procreate now, so whatever floats your boat. All right, I'm gonna put on my little screen protector glasses because sometimes I stare at this for a little too long, and let's get started. All right, so as you can see here, I have my Cintiq set up so that I'm in Adobe Photoshop. I have the little color that I'm going to do the underline sketch with. I figured red would be, appropriate because fire. And I also have my little reference sheet up, which I really relied on during the books process because while you're doing about 128 pages of this book, you got to try and make sure that the continuity sticks so that these kids look the same. And for me, I haven't drawn these kids in over a year because publishing takes a while. So once the book was actually finished, I didn't get to continue drawing these cute little kids. I do draw a lot of Lucky still though in the margins of my notes occasionally, just because you'll see he's so much fun to draw. Okay, so I start with a little circle, some guidelines, just so I know which direction the kids are looking. I'm also gonna just put a circle here just so I know I'm gonna put Lucky here. And let's see. Franny, if you look, has more of a firmer jaw. She's a little smaller. So we're gonna draw that. It's a little bit like adding a bottom to the circle. And JP, he's got more of a long face, a long, round, squishy face. And we still want to make sure they look like siblings, though. So that's why they both have reddish hair. JP has sort of a rounder nose, while Franny's is more lifted up. And you can also see her nostril. Let's see. Franny's hair is tied back. At least with this rendition. I know my reference doesn't really show it, but I just feel like that was the most fun I had drawing her, and I think it's because that's a little bit more period accurate. The reason her hair comes down is because they're running all over the place, so obviously her bun's gonna come undone. Let's see, and then JP has a little bangs in the center of his face, and for the most part, up top, it's just how it is. There's a little bit of some ruffles, as I guess you would call it, where, hair isn't perfectly flat. And I like to give them both large eyes because this is comics. We're cartooning. We're allowed to get as crazy as we want. Those eyes might be a little bit too big, but that's art and we can fix it. Actually, you know what? I'm going to erase Franny's eyes because we'll have them both looking down at Lucky. They're little cutie pie. Smiling. Oops. I have to undo a lot, which is the joy of doing it digitally because I feel like I'm very much someone who doesn't always get it right on the first try. And I think that just is, drawing in general. Like, I spent, 20 years of my life drawing. It's all about practice. And, even now, it's not going to be perfect. And with comics, too, you don't always get it right on the first try. Right now I'm drawing, Franny has like a little, if you look here, a little tiny collar. And then she has her school apron, I believe. At least that was the impression I got when I was researching their clothing styles. And JP is just a little collar, little flannel with his overalls. And I'm not going to maybe do like the whole body because time, but you know what? We'll see. Okay, so that's the initial sketch of the kids. Actually, as an excuse for me not to draw the rest, let's just have Lucky like daydreaming about them, because these are kids that not only rescued them but spend the whole part of the book with them. And Lucky is my favorite to draw because I actually have I did a little study when I was trying to design the characters, and one thing I found with newborn puppies is they have like very large heads, so I kind of comically exaggerated that. So Lucky is basically has like a potato for a noggin and these tiny little ears and a little nose. We'll draw him smiling. A lot of the book he's scared, which is sad, but now he's sleeping and thinking of the kids. And newborn puppies are also very wrinkly, so I drew like a bunch of wrinkles above the nose. And then he has a similar potato-like body. So basically turn his head sideways and plop it on behind him. And we just draw little paws. Little paws. And a tiny little tail. Maybe it's wagging in his sleep because he's happy. And here's an example of why I draw books digitally, is because I have a very bad habit of drawing things off-center, or I decide, I drew this too small, or I drew it too big. And I'm making Lucky bigger in this case because it's a dream. He's just thinking of the kids. They're not actually there, so it's fine. And actually, let me move JP around very quickly. Okay. And you don't have to do this. This is just me being finicky with my own work. It really doesn't matter. I drew it on the wrong layer, like a fool. That's another part about working digitally, is you can separate it. So if you make a mistake on one layer, you won't have to erase all of it in order to get to it. So now I'm going to ink it. And to do that, I'm going to lower the opacity of the sketch, so that way it's not too distracting. All right, I'm going to draw the little ears, the nose. I made the brush too big, actually. Give me 1 second to fix that. This video is going to be too long. I can feel it. Alright, so we got big potato head. Lucky. Think about the kids. And inking is my favorite part because I feel like I get to add like a lot more detail in it, or it feels cleaner. Like, I get very messy with my sketch layer because that's where I'm doing the most thinking. That's where I'm deciding, this is where I want to put this. This is where I want to put that. I'm gonna go back because I accidentally went over Franny's sketch. Okay, so I'm gonna put their ref back up for my sake. We're gonna just go over the lines that we did. One thing that I can show you too in the inking stage is that Franny and JP both have freckles, but they both have a specific amount of freckles. So Franny has 3 on each cheek and 3 on her nose, but JP just has 3 on his cheek. So that way they don't look like twins so much, because JP is a year older than Franny. But they still look related. I'm gonna go over the hair, just a little bit over her ear. That's just how buns can be sometimes. There we go. Her little collar and apron. Add a little shadow there. We'll finish this bubble. I probably should have done the bubble very last, but you know, it's a process. And then we have JP here. Oops. And one of the things about Franny and JP is later in the book, we fast forward. So we also had to see them as adults. So it was a matter of, like, they had to be rounder when they were kids because they, you know, still got baby fat. And also just the way that faces work. Here we go with the 3 freckles as mentioned. So you really had to define these characters by specific traits so that people could recognize them later in the book. And we also get to see their own children. We have Franny's daughter and JP's son, Mary Frances and Patrick, respectively, which can get confusing with the names, but you know, it makes sense to have similar names in the family if you're naming after somebody. It's also just how it really was back then. Right. So we got Lucky's thinking of them. Let's draw some hearts. Right, and I hide the sketch layer now. I'm going to add some very quick colors. Right. And usually what I do is I'll use the magic wand select tool, but sometimes I like to make it a little messy so that you can show, like, yeah, this was made by somebody. Franny has a green dress, but the color palette changes throughout the book because it's nighttime, the fire's around, so it's like reflected a lot, but you can still tell it's pretty similar colors. And we had a little bit of, they each were a bit red in the face by halfway through the book, just because, you know, they're around fire. It's hot. Your face gets red when it's hot. Not necessarily a sunburn, but just because of how our body reacts to heat. We get flushed. Boop, boop, boop. If you couldn't tell, I sing a lot to myself while I'm working. And I added a little shine to JP's hair because, you know, that's what I felt like. Sometimes that's all you need to make a judgment call. It's just, I felt like doing this. Unless it's like very specific. Like everything you see in comics, the artists deliberately put whatever they put down there. Even if the reason is just, I wanted to do it. I like this. Alright, let's add color to Lucky now. You can't really see this little grayish fur because it's right on white, but that's okay. I just want to make sure that it's right. Let's see. Lucky has these spots. One that covers their butt, one that covers right below the neck, and then sort of like divides their face. And then if you notice with newborns, both of the puppy and human variety, they're very red. They're very red and squishy as babies. So I made the area around Lucky's nose red, his paws red, just to show like, hey, he's still a baby. And I'm realizing now that I didn't make his nose black. I don't know why. And then we'll just add a little bit of red for the hearts. Just, just because. All right. And there you have it, folks. Thank you for drawing along with me today as part of First Second Sketch School. Stay tuned as more artists come on to show you how to draw fun characters from First Second books. And make sure you keep an eye out this summer for the launch of History Comics and the Great Chicago Fire. Have a great day and keep drawing!